News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset. Chris Crock Show. Hour number 3 already. Wow, huh? Well, we're in the middle of a story about mRNA COVID-19 vaccines cause more deaths than saved, a peer-reviewed study reveals. And I absolutely believe this. This is reported by the Epoch Times and then also by Zero Hedge. The study that's peer-reviewed was published in the Curious Journal January 24th. Hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's not spelled the way you would think it is with Curious. But now, continuing on, I'm asking the question. A number, of course, 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. Chime in now. Do you believe the COVID vaccines, quote-unquote, have caused more death and harm than they have saved, as this study and reports allege? And will you be taking the vaccine anymore? And are you going to have your kids vaccinated, quote-unquote, against COVID anymore? I have not had my kids done that. My wife and I are very much against it, and it's a hard pass. When they're on their own as adults, they can do what they want, but not in this house. So that's our thought on that. And no, I won't be taking any of these vaccines, let alone for my kids. And I do believe it's very, very possible they've caused more death and harm than they have saved people. Now, continuing on, they talk about during the trial, there were large numbers of infections that fell under the suspected COVID-19 category. And in fact, the numbers were 20 times higher than the amount of confirmed cases. The number of infections were 20 times higher than the confirmed cases. There were 1,600 cases in the vaccinated group and 1,800 in the placebo group. And the efficacy actually dropped to only 19%, far below the 50% that was supposed to be required for regulatory authorizations. Do you understand? It's supposed to be 50% effective or higher, and yet it was only 19%, and they passed it through. It is, quote, dramatically lower than the original 95% clean effective. Wow. These findings about serious adverse effects stand in sharp contrast with the FDA's initial claims that these SAEs they call, which are serious adverse effects, okay, reported by the two pivotal trials were balanced between treatment groups. So a lot higher adverse events than we initially were told. Rushed vaccines. It was only after the EUA that the serious biological consequences of rushing the trials became, that's the emergency authorization of that serious biological consequences of rushing these trials became evident with numerous cardiovascular, neurological, reproductive, hematological, malignant, and autoimmune SAEs. These are the adverse effects identified and published in the peer-reviewed medical literature. So a lot more cardiovascular, neurological, reproductive, hematological, malignant, and autoimmune adverse effects were identified after they published this medical literature on the COVID so-called vaccine. FDA and the CDC is supposed to protect the people, but they have become the lapdog of the pharmaceutical industry. This must change. Agreed. So that's the questions I have for you. Do you believe that COVID vaccines actually cause more death and harm and harm than they have actually saved? I believe that. It's hard to say that, but I do believe it. It's pretty obvious by now that this was pushed through way too fast. It was not effective. It is not right, and it's not a vaccine. It should not be called that. And I'm quoting the what's it called? The biologist, the evolutionary biologist and scientist Brett Weinstein, for example, but others are saying the same thing. You look at Bhattacharya, Dr. Bhattacharya at I think it's Stanford, and you also look at Joseph Ladapo, who's now the Surgeon General for the state of Florida. But I think he was at either Stanford or one of the other top universities as an epidemiologist, and they were all saying the same thing, that this is not as deadly as we're being told. You don't need this vaccine. It's not good. Don't do it, etc. And yet it was rigged, and we found out just the other day that Joe Biden and his administration and his top COVID people were literally, instead of burning books, they were burying books. They were hiding them and telling Amazon, take them off. And they went along with it. So literally, this administration was burning the truth, hiding books from us that told the truth and was lying to us. Now, you know what I came across today? I came across today a new report that was released by policedefense.org. Policedefense.org. And I have it right here in front of me. Particularly, what's really amazing about this, and I'll tweet out this page because it is fantastic. It is a map. It's the law. Actually, it comes from the Law Enforcement Legal Defense Fund. Law Enforcement Legal Defense Fund. And they have a new map that shows you every single town, every single city that is funded by George Soros, the DA. Every single city. It's a United States map, and lo and behold, as I've told you this, which out of all of our DAs in the Metroplex, whether it be Denton County, Tarrant County, Collin County, Dallas County, Ellis, Parker, you go through the list, Kaufman, etc., all the different counties in North Texas, right? Wise, Hood. Which one of the prosecutors is a Soros-funded DA? Now, I've told you this for years, and I've told you that let him go, Cruezot, this guy, this clown.
What's the lesson? Don't be poor.
Yeah, the reason why people are stealing and committing crimes in the Metroplex in Dallas Dallas County is because they're poor. That's what Urkel says, right?
Did I do that?
There he is, Urkel.
What's the lesson? Don't be poor.
Urkel, don't be poor. So, John Cruezot, according to policedefense.org, which is the legal defense, make sure I get this right, Law Enforcement Legal Defense Fund, John Cruezot has gotten over $1 million from George Soros donations. Let him go, Cruezot has gotten over $1 million in donations to keep him elected and reelected from Soros-funded backers. I'm going to tell you all about that coming up next, and just some reports over the years that show how woke and pro, how he's a Soros-funded DA. All that's coming up next in the Chris Crock Show. And Mike wants to chime in from Frisco on the COVID vaccine, whether it's still a vaccine, etc. He's going to do that coming up next right out of the box. Our number is 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. Oh, I saw this concert at least twice, once in the Aragon Ballroom in Chicago and once in Austin. What was that? The Armadillo, I think it was. It's like a shell. It was like I don't know if they still have it, but it's a legendary concert hall where it's like a shell though. Can't remember. It's something like that, but that was great. Both of them were great. Love the Crows. News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. 800-288. Oh, by the way, make it a preset at 93.3 FM. 800-288-WBAP. That's 800-288-9227. We're going to get into the woke, Soros-funded Dallas County DA. Let him go, Cruezot, got over $1 million, and a brand new report that just came out from the Law Enforcement Legal Defense Fund. But first, let's go to Mike in Frisco, who wanted to talk about this brand new peer-reviewed study reported today by the Epoch Times as well as Zero Hedge. And basically, it says that the vaccines, mRNA vaccines, for COVID-19 caused more deaths than saved in this peer-reviewed study. Mike in Frisco, you're on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. Hello, sir.
Hi, thank you for letting me on.
You're welcome.
I just want to say I'm not here to bash the medical community because they're hardworking people trying to do their best.
Of course.
But we were sold that this was a vaccine, and it wasn't.
Right.
And then when we were told, well, it'll reduce the symptoms. Well, I ended up getting COVID, the Delta variant of COVID.
Yes.
And no vaccine would have been able to predict what the Delta variant was going to look like.
Right.
Vaccines come after the fact, not before the fact. Vaccines. So when I got it, I got online and I started researching everything I could about what's going on in the world in COVID. And it turned out that before they really had the vaccine out and they were distributing it around the world, there were countries doing a lot of different things trying to figure out how to fight this. And Africa was having a really good response to therapeutics, other therapeutics that were helping them. So as I was sick with this, I found a doctor and he prescribed ivermectin to me.
Yes.
Ivermectin's been safe for 30 years.
Yes.
And has won a Nobel Prize for its effectiveness. Mm-hmm. But the government was doing everything they could to stop people from getting
That's
ivermectin.
exactly right.
I went to CVS and Walgreens, and they would not fulfill my prescription. Think about that. A doctor prescribed something to me, and CVS and Walgreens is now telling me that they're going to override my doctor's decision. It's not their job to prescribe something now.
Correct.
It's their job to determine if the doctor is right or wrong, and then they'll determine if they'll give it to you. So I had to drive an hour to a pharmacy in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. There were only about a half a dozen of them that would prescribe that.
Are you talking about a pharmacist compound? That's exactly right.
Yeah,
I
pharmacist.
A compound pharmacist, and I went to one when my doctor prescribed me. I got COVID the second time I got it. And this doctor is on the board, on game with everything, and does the FLCC. I'm sure I'm butchering the acronym, FLCCCA or whatever it is, recommendations for COVID, and it's ivermectin and the other ones, a few other ones. There
was
hydroxychloroquine. Yes,
hydroxychloroquine, and some others.
Yeah.
Well, he prescribed ivermectin to me. Mm-hmm. 3 days later, I'm back up on my feet.
Correct.
I wasn't 100%.
Right.
But in 3 days, all the symptoms had been severely reduced, and I was back up on my feet and walking around. And in about a week, I was back to normal again.
Right.
So, I'm not here to bash the medical community, but there seemed to be a huge political push behind this whole thing, more than it was really a concern about people's health care.
Yes. Now, you're exactly right, and here's what I got. This is the guide to COVID care. Ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, mouthwash, nasal spray with povidone if you want. Quercetin, which I took most of this, and turmeric, zinc, and some other things. And I took that, and I was great. It works. So absolutely correct, and my doctor prescribed it, and I went to a compound pharmacy too, and yes, some of them might have to go 30 minutes. I had to go 30 minutes for mine, but yes, and I agree. So do you agree, you believe this report saying that the mRNA COVID-19 vaccines, quote-unquote so-called vaccines, cause more deaths than save? You believe that from the study? You believe that?
Yeah, I do, and I haven't, to be honest with you, I haven't kept up with it lately because COVID has kind of become a thing of the past.
Yeah, it's done.
But the mRNA vaccine stuff is kind of new technology, and it hasn't been really proven through yet. Last I read about it,
that's exactly what Brett Weinstein, the evolutionary biologist, was saying. That the mRNA is not at all where it needs to be. This should not be done. People should not be getting it. It does not do what we want it to do, and what we thought it did. It does not. And I agree, and everything I've seen says that, and everything I've said in this story sees that. I appreciate your call, Mike, and I'm glad you called. And I would encourage anybody, look, you do what your doctor tells you, but my doctor does the protocol that I mentioned. It's FLC. I want to make sure I get the acronym right. I found it online here. It is the FLCCCA, I believe. I closed the darn window, but a protocol, COVID protocols. Thank you for your call, Mike. I appreciate you, brother. I'm glad you're well.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay, let's get into George Soros. This map is in front of me, and I am about to tweet it out to you because it is beautiful. And I was like, whoa. This map has, it's like a map, you just scroll over it. And when you do, you scroll over it and you go down to Dallas. It shows you all the woke Soros DA ones. Minneapolis, Portland, Los Angeles, Manhattan, Philadelphia, and Dallas, Texas is on there. And we're on there, and guess who it is? Let him go, Cruezot. John Cruezot, $1,044,815 from George Soros funded backers. Quote, the Fair and Justice Prosecution, the Texas Organizing Project, and the Texas Justice and Public Safety PAC. In 2019 and 2022 in his elections, he has reaped a total of over $1 million from George Soros, from Team Soros, as policedefense.org reports. I will tweet that out in a second. Follow me on Twitter, @ChrisCroc That's @ChrisCroc Now, I'm going to give you some examples from our local news media over the past, in the first several years of his administration. This guy should not be the Dallas County DA. He is a George Soros puppet, and you've seen it in what he's done. So we'll get to that coming up next on the Chris Croc Show. In fact, I'll ask you right now, do you want a woke social justice DA supported by George Soros as a prosecutor in your county, whether you're in Dallas County or not? And do you feel safe having a woke Soros-funded DA in Dallas County? I do not. And are you seeing things that indicate that indeed Let Him Go Cruezot is funded and fully on board with George Soros' social justice priorities? And are these policies destructive to you or helpful in our communities and in your community? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Coming up next, I'm going to give you details on how bad he's been, and I'm going to give you details on a death penalty case that he had until after St. George Floyd, blessed be his name, died. Then he yanked the death penalty off the table because it was the wrong color. That's next in the Chris Croc Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, and now on FM. Our number to call in, 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. On News Talk 820 WBAP, and now on FM at 93.3. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. This is News Talk 820 WBAP, and now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset. Let Him Go Cruezot. I just tweeted it out, so you can follow me on Twitter @Chris Croc Show. That's @Chris Croc Show, CHRISKROK. And I just tweeted it out 6 minutes ago, the link, and it shows all the Soros-funded prosecutors and how much they have been funded by Soros and you could just click on the link, and then you scroll down, you go down, hover over Dallas, you'll see Let Him Go Cruezot right there, $1,044,815. And if you look at this map, it's a city, it's a map of hell, because it shows you look at this, you guys, the lady who is destroying Oakland is 1.1 million. So she got a little bit more than Soros did in the Oakland area, I believe it is. But you look at this, we're in the same rank with Philadelphia, Chicago, Minneapolis, and just a bunch of crap that these guys are funding to put us in. Put the criminal, leave them out, and etc. So, anyways, check that out. It's really awesome, and I actually did reach out to the folks at the Law Enforcement Legal Defense Fund because they put this together in their research. Now, let's get some examples of the woke policies of John Cruezot that show us why he is a Soros-funded back, why George Soros gives him over $1 million over these years, and why he's getting his money's worth. Okay, but the first thing I want to do is ask you, do you want a woke social justice DA supported by George Soros as a prosecutor in your county? And do you feel safe having a woke Soros-funded DA in Dallas County? Are you seeing things that indicate that indeed Let 'em Go Cruezot is funded and fully on board with Soros' social justice priorities, as I'm seeing? And are these policies destructive for you or helpful if they're in your communities? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Coming up in a few minutes, we're going to get to Trump's economic lead over Biden is insane. It's funny. There's some great stuff that came out today about that. But with crime, this is from the Dallas Express. Crime increases amid Cruezot's, quote, reforms. This is from September of 2022, so about a year and a half ago. He soon after winning the election in 2018, major alterations in the prosecution of crime. What he did was in 2019, transformation of the criminal justice system and reforms is what he said in his press releases. He's transforming the criminal justice system and, quote, reform policies, refusing to prosecute first-time misdemeanor marijuana offenses, as well as theft of personal items. Remember this? Over $750. He will not prosecute anything under $750 because, well, you're doing it because you're poor, he claims.
What's the lesson? Don't be poor.
That's right, Urkel. I've been in criminal justice for 37 years. I've seen people steal because they're hungry. Putting a person in jail is not going to make their situation any better. So go get you, we talked about this so much when that happened, go get you $749 worth of steaks. You go get you those steaks. Those are your steaks. Go into wherever it is, go to Sam's or go into Tom Thumb and get you some good steaks, right? Because you're poor. Since Cruezot, I'm going to go get me some T-bone. And what else? New York Strip. Since Cruezot took office in January 2019, larceny and theft offenses, this is again in September 22, larceny and theft offenses in 3 years rose by almost 12%. And the first 9 months of 2022, it was 14.5% that they've increased by. CLEAT, the Combined Law Enforcement Association of Texas, the largest police union in the state, says it's unacceptable for Cruezot's plan on crimes, how he treats crimes. When he was campaigning for the office, we don't remember not prosecuting crime as part of his platform. Dallas Police Association said Cruezot's plans risk further eroding the relationship between the cops and the police. NBC5 talked about the theft of necessary items under $750 unless evidence. This is what's funny. He's going to only prosecute it if it's $750 or over, unless evidence shows it was for economic gain. So if you stole it for economic gain, what do you think he's going to do? You think he's going to check out why you stole stuff? Are you fencing it? Maybe I'll charge you. If it's $700 and you're not fencing it, no problem. You're fine. Steal away. Criminal trespass. He says the jail is a mental health provider. The largest mental health provider is not a suitable place for mentally ill and homeless people. Well, dude, you put someone in jail because they're a bum and they're squatting. Eventually, they stop doing it. Bail. Oh, dude. Now, I forgot to tell you the big reason I wanted to tell you about Cruezot that I've talked about. I can never say this enough. Okay. Let 'em Go Cruezot. Charged. Do you remember the name Billy Chemirmir? Billy Chemirmir is that, I believe I don't know if he's illegal. I think he was illegal, but I can't remember anymore, so I'm not sure. But he came here from Africa, and I believe he's illegal. And he is here in the United States of America. He's in Dallas County and also was in Collin County, and he was arrested for murdering a lot of older women. He's accused of, and he's been convicted and sentenced to prison for murder. He would follow, according to the prosecutors, the police, all the court documents. He is believed to have killed over 20 women in Dallas and Collin County. Also, he is black, and he's from Africa. Has nothing to do with the crimes he committed. Here, all he is if he either killed people or he didn't, and he's convicted of it. Now listen, so he's a convicted murderer. Let 'em Go Cruezot put the death penalty on this guy. Why? Because he murdered tons of elderly women, and he was accused of preying on them, stealing their money, stealing their jewelry, and selling it and killing them needlessly. You can steal from him, but not kill him. Anyways, let him go Cruezot put the death penalty on him. But then St. George Floyd died from that drug overdose. Blessed be his name. St. George Floyd. Blessed be his name. He died from that drug overdose while in the custody of Minneapolis police. And after St. George Floyd died, blessed be his name, he decided to take the death penalty off of Billy Chemirmir. And to me, my belief is because the guy's black. That's it. And he made up lies. Well, I don't want to do the death penalty against Chemirmir because, well, he's been great in jail. So I don't want to put him to death. He's been behaving really well in jail. This moron knows that you're not getting the death penalty for how you behave in jail. The death penalty is given because you're found guilty of a crime, or you're likely to be guilty of a crime that gets death penalty. Okay, and he took it off because Chemirmir is black. That's my 120% opinion. And he claimed that he was behaving in jail, which has nothing to do with the death penalty. It never has, never will. He said, well, I have to travel to Africa to investigate. All the murders happened here. He didn't do any murdering in Africa. You don't have to go there. He's like, well, in COVID. It's like, get out of here. I have to go to Africa and the COVID won't let me. Why would you have to go to Africa? You want to go tour his boyhood home? It was a total lie. So all this BS because St. George Floyd died. Blessed be his name. And that's why George Soros loves this guy and has given him over $1 million. The next thing I want to get into is Trump. NBC News poll shows Trump leads Biden in the economy by the widest margin in the entire history of their 32-year history poll. It is amazing. We're going to talk about that, and we're going to see what you think about Trump's economic policies, if they are way, way better than Biden's, and some specific differences that you've seen between a Biden economy and a Trump economy. Next on the Chris Crock Show on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Well, this NBC News has been polling for 32 years. No, I think it's even longer. Hold on, I got to do my math. 1992. They began asking which candidate for the presidency would handle the economy better in 1992. So what is that, 24, 29, and then you add 3 years. That's 32 years, yeah. So for 32 years, NBC News has polled on the who's better to lead the economy. And this is they just did it on Trump versus Biden, and Trump has the widest lead in the entire history of the poll in 32 years over Biden for economic policies. The NBC News poll found 55% of voters believe that Trump would do a better job on the economy compared to just 33% who put their faith in Biden, says the National Pulse. 48% also rated Trump as more likely to be competent and effective against 37% Biden. So he has a 11-point advantage over Biden for competency and effectiveness. And look at this. In 2020, guys, this is bad for Biden. Look at this. In 2020, Biden led Trump by who's more likely to be competent and effective. He led him by 9 points, but now he literally has lost it, and he's 11 points below Trump. So that is a 20-point swing. Isn't that amazing, guys? In 4 years, 20-point swing with saying that now Trump is absolutely more competent and effective. That's amazing. His approval rating is at 37% on NBC. You can't get elected at 37%. That's not me saying that. That's like the expert pundits and the people like Dana Perino and them. You can't get elected if you're in the 30s. 37%, lower than any point in his presidency or any of his predecessors. Wait, 37% approval lower than at any point in his presidency or his predecessors. So he's worse than Trump ever was. In Trump's 4 years, he never got this low. And this is Biden's lowest he's ever gotten, too. In fact, Trump now leads Biden in all 7 swing states by margins as high as 10% in North Carolina, 8% in Nevada, and Georgia. Holy gosh. Okay, so That's it. 55% of voters say that Trump is better at dealing with the economy than Biden by a 22-point margin, the largest advantage any candidate in NBC's history of the poll back to 92. Holy crap, guys. Okay, so here's the questions on that. Do you agree with NBC's polling that Trump's economic policies are way, way better than Biden's? And what are some specific differences that you see between a Biden economy from a Trump economy? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Chime in right now at 800-288-WBAP. And for me, I mean, the average mortgage is, last time I checked, I think it's $1,400 a month more for the same mortgage that you would have gotten under Trump. It's insane. And the mortgage rate when Trump left office was somewhere around 3%, I believe, or just below 3%. And the median, here we go. Okay. 3 years ago, the mortgage rate when Trump left office and Biden took over, the 30-year mortgage rate was under 3%, just under 3%, and the median home price was $294,000. Okay, and now the current rate is in the sixes, I believe. Last time I checked, maybe even at 7. The median home costs $410,000. Middle class home buyers facing the worst housing market in history, with only 23% of available listings within their price range. So this is insane. And the average male worker now needs to work 60-plus weeks a year, so that's more than 8 weeks extra than we have in a year to afford a year's worth of major expenses for a family of 4. There you go. So there's your difference. Grocery prices are insane. They're never going to go down. And Biden brags to you that inflation has slowed down. It's still going up. It's just going up at a slower rate, and it never went down. It never went down. All the prices that are insane have never gone down, and they never will go down. He has bastardized our economy and destroyed it. He is also destroying the energy prices in this country, liquid natural gas. He is destroying fuel production. We may still be at a high right now, but I'm going to tell you something. I have heard recently in reports on Fox News that all of these oil permits, he's delaying them and he's denying them for drilling. So what that means is when the current ones, the leases run out, they're not going. And these oil companies invest in their projects several years ahead of time. They ain't going to do it if they don't know if this poor, frail, senile old man who keeps talking to more dead people today said he talked to the German chancellor who was dead 7 years earlier instead of the current one. Anyway, no. In 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years from now, there will be a serious crisis because the production will not be at the level it is now because he is shutting it down on purpose. So it's energy prices, it's gas prices, it's grocery prices, and the grocery prices are insane too because to heat and cool the grocery store and the electricity in the grocery store, to transport it in the cars, everything is a lot more money. Insurance is insane. Our auto insurance, our homeowners insurance, because everything is insanely more expensive. The labor is more expensive. You know what? I talked to a friend of mine today at a dealer here in the Metroplex, and if I want a car transported, it used to cost him $400. If I want a car transported from the New York area, okay, it used to cost him $400. You know what it is now? That was about 2, 3, 4 years ago. You know what it is now? It went from $400 to, I think, $1,400, $1,200 or $1,400. It's increased 3 or 4, like 3+ times the cost just to transport one vehicle from New York to here. So, I mean, there's so many examples that we don't realize. When your car crashes, whether it's your fault or not, doesn't matter. The car to replace the parts and the labor to repair it, everything is insane. This man has destroyed our economy. And the fake news can tell me everything they want and whisper sweet lies into my ear. Doesn't matter. Our bottom line does not hide we can't hide the truth from our bottom lines.